This is part 2 of a 6-part series going through the Mike Company Master Budget Project. In part 1, we've already done the sales budget. We are right now at the beginning balance sheet, and we've already done the sales budget in part 1. And now we're going to move on to part 2, which is the inventory purchases budget, which is the second budget we do in our Master Budget Project. As with anything, we start with a proper heading. In part 1 of our inventory purchases budget, we're going to calculate total purchases. And we're going to do this for the first quarter, so it's for January, February, and March. We need April for a specific reason, which we'll get to in a second. The first thing you have in inventory purchases budget, if you look at Mike Company, we're going to need points number 3 and 4. The first thing that we need to identify how much inventory we're going to purchase is to know how much inventory we're going to sell. We need to buy enough inventory to cover what we expect to sell. So the biggest component of what we buy is related to what we expect to sell, and it is the cost of goods sold, which identifies the cost of the things that we expect to sell. Now, when you see in point number 3, it says that the cost of goods sold is equal to 50% of sales. Therefore, in January, what we expect the cost of goods sold to be is 50% of our sales. So type in equals 0.5 times over our sales budget, our expected sales of 100,000. Hit enter. Again, we expect that we can simply copy that same formula over. If you want to do it again, it's equal to 0.5 times your sales for February. And we'll do the same thing, just copy the formula over for March and April. The next component of what you need to purchase, how you determine the amount of inventory you need to purchase, is your desired ending inventory. In this problem, it tells us in point 4 that Mike Company likes to keep an ending inventory equal to 25% of next month's cost of goods sold. As such, in January, we expect our desired ending inventory to be 25% of February's cost of goods sold. So, in January, it's equal to 0.25 times the 55,000. And again, you can simply copy that formula over, just doing it again. It's equal to 0.25 times March's cost of goods sold. And the whole reason why you have April's cost of goods sold is that you can calculate March's desired ending inventory, which is, again, 25% of next month's cost of goods sold. These two components, the cost of goods sold and the desired ending inventory, comprise a subtotal called your inventory needs. And that is simply the total of the cost of goods sold and your desired ending inventory. Now, to determine, even though you've identified how much inventory you need each month, that's not how much you buy, because you may have some on hand. So we're going to subtract out the amount of inventory that we have on hand. Now, in January, our beginning inventory will be on our beginning balance sheet. So I'm going to link back to my beginning balance sheet. My inventory balance, beginning inventory balance is 15,000. In February, my beginning inventory balance is what I expected to end with in January. And so I'll just link back to that. And in March, It's what you expect to end with in February. And so what you have now is, with your inventory needs minus what you already have, determines how much inventory in total each month you expect to purchase. So we'll just sum up. Again, that's going to be equal to your inventory needs less your beginning inventory. Add a little some lines to make it a little bit prettier. And what you have now is part one of your inventory purchases budget. What you've determined is the total purchases that you need to purchase, the total amount of inventory you need to purchase each month. Part two of your inventory purchases budget is your cash payments. Now they tell us in part 5 of your Mike Company budget that all purchases of inventory are on account, and the company pays for 60% of all purchases in the month of the purchase, 40% the month after the purchase. So with cash payments, we first have to determine how much we're going to pay for this month. So cash payments for purchases this month, we're going to pay for 60%, and cash payments for purchases last month is 40%. So in January's purchases of $48,750, we're going to pay for 60% of those in January. So it's 0.6 times your total purchases. So we're going to pay for $29,250 of this $48,750 in January. The remaining 40% will be paid for next month. Again, you pay for 60% of your purchases this month, the remaining 40% next month. So in February, you're going to pay for 60% of this $56,375 in February, the remaining 40% in March. In March, you're going to pay for 60% of the $62,013 in March, the remaining 40% in April. Now in January, this 40%, this number here, relates to 40% of December's purchases. It also represents an amount that you still owe from December's purchases. This amount that you still owe is the beginning balance of accounts payable. So I'm going to link back to my beginning balance sheet, the beginning balance of accounts payable of $20,000. So that gives me my total cash payments for inventory purchases in January will be $49,250, and you can copy that over. Note, for any given month, accounts payable represents an amount of purchases that you owe but haven't paid for yet. You purchased, for example, in January $48,750. You paid for 60%. The amount that you still owe, the $19,500, that's going to be paid in February, that represents the ending balance in January of accounts payable. Likewise, in February, the ending balance of accounts payable is the amount of purchases you haven't paid for yet, which is the $22,550. In March, the ending balance of accounts payable represents the amount of purchases you haven't paid for yet, which is the $24,805.